Hey Warren, I'll give you a quick tour of what we got here. There are two dryers. The one on the right is older and hasn't been repaired, so the one on the left is actually a little bit better. There are two feed systems, so we're picking one of the two. This is an older one, I don't recommend it. This is the only conveyor that comes with it. Looks like a stacker without a drive. This isn't part of it, it's a one trailer unit. This is the feed hopper. It's a dual screw, pretty stout. The augers look alright on inside of it. I'm going to walk you down the dryer. It does have a star jet, but it has a total air makeup blower on the side of it, so it doesn't have any excess air being pulled in through the housing. This dryer is shifted in transport, so it does need a little bit of work, but not major. There's some construction work. One area that I saw was some machining of the drum right here. Looks like it was a poor repair, but there was a little bit of machining of the drum. This is their Dobson collar. I don't see where it goes back in yet. I haven't found that. The drum picked up in transport and came out of the thrust rollers, but all the rollers look good. You can see the two different tires. This is an older tire design, and this is the newer tire design. So at one point, the drum was replaced. It looks like right about here. It is a stainless steel drum, and it's 8'6". These are the two. Pick one of the two. I think this one isn't the better one. This is the slinger. There's two outlets of air, so you can orient the plant one of two directions. This is the slinger here going into the discharge or the feed end. Slinger actually looks pretty decent. I got a whole pile of photos of motors and things, and I haven't really totaled it all up of what it is because the scrubber is complex. But all of the trailers that we're looking at have 4 axles. They look to be at least 12 feet wide. This is a scrubber. Came with a package. I don't know if you want it, but it's an FRP scrubber. There's a slew of parts and pieces for this thing. Looks like it had even a reheat burner for it. This is the scrubber, one of the scrubber manifold pumps, scrubber pump system. You can see a lot of the controls have hand or local remote disconnects, but the starters, I believe, are in a central location, and that central location is a mess. So it's not worth buying. It's really not even worth looking at. This is your secondary. Pretty sure it's 12-foot diameter, 66 or 65 foot long. I walked inside of it. I'll explain that when I get to the back side. This one also has a star jet and the secondary ID fan, and I found that over on another spot. I'll show you a picture of it, but that exists for the secondary fan. And then there's a tertiary fan also. I think goes somewhere. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the tertiary fan there, which is also the secondary fan. A lot of instruments. There's 6 or 7 thermocouples on each side. This is the bag house. There's 15 thermocouples at least on the bag house alone. There's no air compressor, but there's space for it. 3 screws on the bottom. This wasn't built by Tarmac. There's 3 screws on the bottom, a crossing screw and a discharge screw. I'm going to walk back next to the bag house, and I'll come back to look at the ID fan in a minute. You can see lots of the scrubber stack here. This is the scrubber stack. There is no hot stack, so you'd have to build that. There is the transition out of the oxidizer, and I'll show you that connection. This is the back side of the bag house without an ID fan. can see the ID fan connection there. This is the oxidizer outlet. It's a mess. The hard refractory is kind of a mess, but the soft refractory all the way down doesn't look bad at all. The burner looks good. Again, control house, it's not worth it. This is the back side of the scrubber. I'm walking around the back side of all the equipment now. This is the back side, or the slinger that's good. So this is the slinger conveyor that goes into the dryer. I'll try and get you some flights here in the video. I got pictures anyway. You can kind of see in there. There's a little bit of flight damage, but it's not bad. It can be repaired. It's a stainless drum. Before it's moved, the tires are going to have to be gone through. This is a piece of the stack, or the outlet of the scrubber. Oxidizer, excuse me. This is a hood for the soil conditioner. This is the base of the stack. It sits somewhere here. These are the two soil conditioners. They got an aerial view. They don't look bad. Tarmac design, horizontal, pretty good shape. Back here, these are pads for spreading the load. I don't know what they're called, but this is a hood for one of the soil conditioners. And here's an ID fan. Looks like the ID fan's only 125 horsepower. At least that's the motors that I found. I got some markings off it, but they're not very clear. I believe this is the fan for the oxidizer. Some platform. I'm going to go inside the shop and I'll show you some of the other pieces. I think it was last run on oil, but it looks like there's a gas train available. Here's a slew of motors and gearboxes and additional fans. I'm not exactly sure what that fan's for. They're just some of the parts. Back side of Tarmac shop, and we got more. This looks like a duct heater fan burner. Conveyor parts, scrubber parts, motors. These are the largest motors I could find, so that's why I'm thinking these are the motors for the ID fan, and they're 125. Over here, more parts. It'd be quite an effort of inventory to go through all this and decide, but I got an idea at least started. Okay, I'm walking back to the equipment from the shop now. The baghouse is not really that bad. There is some rust on the outlet area by the access door, but I looked at the tube sheet. It looks pretty solid, and the augers look pretty decent, so it doesn't look like it was badly maintained, but there is some evidence of repairs. Obviously, the baghouse outlet with the dust, that has a lot of wear on that transition, slinger transition. The oxidizer, as I said, doesn't look bad at all. Lots of instrumentation. How it's terminated looks like each skid has a termination connection location, kind of a junction box. You can kind of see it on the baghouse. The oxidizer has one on the back side, but you can see the disconnects for the motors on the augers, or right on the side of the baghouse there. A lot of local disconnects. Again, I think this was run on oil, but it has been run on gas before. Give you a little bit more tour of the scrubber. Horizontal, kind of Venturi design scrubber. FRP. it has a pre-quench out of the oxidizer that quenches the gas before it goes into the FRP scrubber. More disconnects. Conduit all looks decent. Doesn't look bad. I mean, it'd be a project to go through and figure out what you have here, but as far as incorporating some level of control onto it, I don't see it as a huge project, but it's a project. Again, everything to me looks decent. I'm going to try and open up one of these for you to look at this. Starter's gone. Yeah, local disconnects only. This is one of the soil conditioners. Scrubber parts. I'll show you the pre-quench. It's the pre-quench for the scrubber parts. This is the transition out of the oxidizer. The refractor on this actually looks alright. Blow pipes, scrubber parts. I don't know what those tubes are, those carbon steel tubes. They may be for the baghouse steam. I haven't really figured out how that gets over to the baghouse from the soil conditioner.